Welcome to the Business of Tattooing, the podcast that goes beyond the ink to dive deep into the industry, the hustle, and what it really takes to succeed in the world of tattooing. I'm Rob Smead, founder of Electrum Supply, and your guide through the business side of this ever-evolving art form. Each week, we'll break down the latest trends, tackle the challenges artists face, and sit down with industry pros to talk shop, unfiltered and straight to the point. Whether you're an artist, a shop owner, or just someone who loves the craft, this is the podcast built for you. So, sharpen your skills, level up your business, and let's get to work. This is the Business of Tattooing.
And hell, my daughter came in yesterday. I'm like, "You're working on Tuesdays?" She's like, because she doesn't work Tuesdays. And she was like, "It's Monday." And I was like, "Oh, shit. I don't even know."
What did I do on Sunday, bro?
Yeah. Especially gets this time of year because, every day we're still making social media posts. I make 3 posts for every artist. We have over 200 artists. So that alone is, 600 posts just for social media. And then thankfully my daughter Sierra is helping me post all that and get all that done. And I'm helping make the frames. Trina's making some of the frames, doing the website stuff and all the back end stuff. And then I'm maneuvering stuff in the storage units. And we loaded the trailer and the van up full of all the Indy Tattoo Expo stuff just to be ready so that we can get there, drop everything off. Everything's loaded and ready. We're 2 weeks out. So I just take the time now that way I can go around the shops, promote, go out to different places and try to, get flyers out and do as much as I can for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into the expo for sure. We'll talk about that quite a bit today, I think, but talk about a lot of other stuff too. But before we get all into that, let's introduce you, and so everybody knows who you are that's listening. And guest on the podcast today is a friend of mine, Chris Allen Taylor, tattoo artist out of Plainfield, Indiana. If I got all the facts right, you've been tattooing basically since about the age of 15.
Yes, sir.
You apprenticed under James Sanders?
Yeah, James Rabbit Sanders.
Yeah. And interestingly, I didn't know this until just a couple days ago when I was doing a little homework. Yeah. I didn't realize Trina's his daughter.
Yeah.
I just learned that like 2 days ago.
So that's what makes such a dynamic, relationship between Trina and I. I've known Trina since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So, and Trina's really the brains behind it. I come up with the madness and Trina kind of puts it together. But, probably 8 years or so ago, I started tattooing Trina. She started doing some bookkeeping for the business. Now she's completely runs ink therapy, even she's the manager of my shop. But we talked about Indy Tattoo Expo and wanting to represent tattoo history and kind of her father. And then that's why we partnered up and made it happen. So, yeah, it's pretty cool that Trina and I have known each other our whole lives pretty much and get to kind of do this together because, Trina's not a tattoo artist. She's just business smart, So
Yeah. But she's the daughter of a pretty prolific tattoo artist in the Indiana area, in Indianapolis. And so that's cool, man. It was cool to put that, make that connection because it like a light bulb went off and I was like, holy shit. I was like, how come I never fucking realized that before? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really cool. That's the one thing I love about Indy, and because Trina is so involved, that she's the one contacting all these artists and getting all the paperwork together. I just show up and do all the loud talking and all that fun stuff, But she's gotten to know everybody and everybody's gotten to recognize because her dad taught, 20 or 30 tattoo artists that still are tattooing in Indianapolis, you know what I mean? And we're talking legendary people themselves that he taught. So to have her involved and her get to recognition for, who her father was and everything and who she is for what she's doing for tattooing, because on the professional realm, Trina helps run a lot of tattoo shops in Indianapolis now. And we've really changed the way people label their money and how they see their businesses so tattoo artists can start living. And it's cool to see, her father. I tell her that she's finishing her father's apprenticeship because he taught me how to tattoo and she's teaching me how to be this professional. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool dynamic.
Yeah, so you're getting both ends of the business.
Yep, and still out of the same family. And, and then Trina also, being that she grew up in a household just like my daughter's, with tattooing in the back room, she knows everything about it. It's not like, most times trying to find that perfect person to help us run our business is really hard because tattooing, while there's and that's one thing I'd love to talk about today is the lack of professionalism. But while there's so much professionalism in tattooing, it is a very different handling of professionalism. And I think, her having that lifetime of experience is why she can run ink therapy so well, and why she's been able to turn Indy Tattoo Expo into what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, she's very involved. I've known her for the whole time Indy Tattoo Expo's been going on, and I've been coming to the show, and that's why it was such a light bulb moment. It was like, whoa, that's crazy. I was like,
Yeah.
so that was cool to learn that. And I'll have to talk to her some when I see her this year about it,
Yeah.
but yeah, dude, I also know we can get into talking about professionalism in tattooing today for sure. I always just kind of run these conversations just like, two people talking, whatever comes up kind of comes
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
It's not really unscripted for sure, just it's all about the business of tattooing and whatever my guest is passionate about. So we can certainly get into that. But also want to talk some about your passion for tattoo history, because you got quite a collection of things that you've always got on display at the Indy Tattoo Expo. Also would like to talk to you some about your inspiration behind starting the Indy Tattoo Expo, how many years you've been doing that, talk about the amount of work that goes into putting on an expo.
Boy, ain't
So
that.
there's a lot of stuff that we can cover today.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I love talking anything tattooing. As long as we're talking tattooing, I can get pretty involved and passionate about it.
Well, let's start all the way back at the beginning of your 15-year-old self, and what got you started in tattooing in the first place.
Well, as a kid, I'd always, actually, honestly, the crazy thing is I collected Disney stuff and Mickey Mouse, and I drew everything. Ever since I can remember drawing, as a child, I was drawing. You know what I mean? And I drew all this Disney stuff, and I thought one day I'm going to go, just draw for Disney. That's going to be this cool job. And then when I was about 8 years old, I met Rabbit. A kid I went to school with, became my best friend back then, was Trina's younger brother. And, we started going to his house on the weekends, and I'm like, damn, these guys are riding Harleys. He's tattooing people. Like, this shit's dope. I'm like, man. And he was such a cool guy. He was always friendly, and I just would stand there as a kid, like, and watch him tattoo. And I, the older I got, I was, the more often we were over there. And I remember just like, I was thinking the other day, we were thinking about Rabbit for some reason, and just like sitting at Pete's baseball games, because he played baseball and I just hung out, and this guy would come riding up on his Harley in the freaking lawn and, park behind the bleachers, and everybody's like, holy crap, this is back in the 80s and stuff, So it seemed wild, and I was like, man, this dude's really tight. And then as I got to be a teenager and I was over there, I'm like, man, one day you should teach me. And he said, hey, buy your equipment and we'll see what happens. So he lined me up with the old Spalding and Rogers equipment, and I bought my first equipment from Spalding and Rogers, which was super tight, and I still have some of that equipment, to this day, and that was 32 years ago. I always joke saying I should do a McDonald's commercial, because the truth is, he said, if you buy some equipment, I'll teach you how to tattoo. So I went and got myself a job at McDonald's. Saved up enough money to buy my equipment, quit McDonald's, bought my tattoo equipment, and here I am, 32 years later. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, props to them for. I also had a good manager back then at McDonald's who was businesslike, and I feel like, I just kind of paid attention to what the guy was doing and how structured he was. So, and then coming in with Rabbit and being wild. Then when I was about 17, I was still working with him at his shop, and it was just a shop in his house. It was just people that I went to school with and his biker buddies. And when I was about 17, he took me down to a friend of his, opened up a shop. A guy named Michael Myers went by Cockroach, and he opened up Tattoos by Cockroach, Holton, Washington Street in Indianapolis. And he took me down there and introduced us, and me and that guy just clicked. We were both wild and young, and he had an open door tattoo shop, and I'm 17 making, almost $2,000 a week. This is 1992, 93, somewhere in there. You know what I mean? I'm like, shit, man, this is a good job.
Yeah, right.
And I remember people like, man, because back then you got to think tattooing, even in the early 90s, isn't near what it was today, from equipment to acceptance, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was Tattoos by Cockroach, Rabbit's tattoo shop that he had forever, Don's Dermographics, and most people went down to Tattoo Charlie's, and, there wasn't, and I guess the Badlands, so, Gary, so they went to Roy Boys, but that was that was it. 5 or 6 tattoo shops in the entire state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a big thing back then, but I was making good money, and I'm 17, so I'm like, well, what do you mean get a real job? Like, I'm making killer cash, make more than some of your parents. And just worked out, man. Just kept doing it. We did have some slow times. When 9/11 hit, I mean, we went down to making like $50 a week there for a while. You know what I mean? People were just afraid for a year to spend any money. So that's, people talk about being slow. You haven't even been tattooing long enough to say this is the slowest tattooing's ever been, because it's not. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's one thing. I'm glad I'm not as social media as I used to be a little bit, because all the whining, oh, tattooing's not as slow as it's ever been. You haven't even been tattooing long enough to know that. I have. Other people have even before me that had periods, in the 20s and stuff that were way different than where we're at. But tattooing's not slowed down. Your efforts have slowed down. You're a private studio. You're not available. How are you going to get new clients? I run a walk-in shop with, I think we have 10 artists, and everybody's staying busy. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
has it paced down a little bit from the last few years? I mean, it seems to be, but we just did taxes and numbers, and everything's the same for the last 5 years. So, I don't know if it's. I think the efforts and the energies paced down, not the business of it.
Yeah, I think from my understanding and from talking to different artists all over the place, not even outside the United States, even talking to some European artists, I just think tattooing's already a very seasonal business anyways. We've got these high points of the year and we've got low points. Obviously, like, tax time is a really busy time for us typically. Around Christmas is always typically a little bit slower. Around the holidays, that's just always kind of been the normal. But I think now, especially, and even really since 9/11 and COVID, or not even 9/11, COVID is what I meant. But
Yeah.
ever since COVID, really, the industry's been in a little bit of a funky place. And I think it really depends. There is some truth to what you said in regards to who you are and what your work ethic is, but also I think a lot of it has to do with where you're located.
Yeah, your
Like
demographic is huge right now. Demographic is real big with our business. I would agree with that.
yeah, but I think that's where you've got to become better at getting yourself out there and going and doing guest spots in areas where it's not slow, and
Yeah.
getting better at networking and making friends with other artists in different areas, and just kind of. So if you're one of those artists out there today, I think you got a leg up for sure, because you know how to get out of that. It just cracks me up when I talk to some people and they've never left the town they're in. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh wow, it's crazy.
just like, it's a
We were
big
talking.
place out there.
I think in the 32 years, I'd like to say I've probably been to close to 500 tattoo expos. I've been to 23, I say 23, 24 of the 27 Motor Cities. Probably out of the 27 Hell Cities, I've been to 25 of those. Used to do New Orleans festivals. God knows how many Villain Arts shows. Old Bodine's back in the day, which isn't stuff that's even around anymore. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, I think, that's why I've enjoyed tattooing to its fullest too, is because I've gotten to meet so many people. And I mean, that's how I met you, is on the road, really. I mean, we're in the same state, but I really met you on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of my favorite people are people on the road. And that's why now, with, like you said, the guest spots, and I tell everybody, hey, at my shop, we're a very busy walk-in shop. We can also set you appointments, but I take guest artists all the time. We have plenty of room for it. I have an Airbnb that's decorated in tattoo history as well, so it's really cool. It's just all old tattoo flash on the walls. And if you guest spot at the shop, I let people stay in the Airbnb for free. So it makes it worth it, and it builds its own little time capsule of tattoo history out here on my property too. So any artists that are more than welcome to get out, meet people. And a lot of artists take advantage of it now with Indy Tattoo Expo. They'll come and guest spot at the shop, build those clients, because we're 10 miles from the expo. So um, getting out and just meeting people is key. And as a young kid, just doing that when I was young. I mean, because like I said, 17 through the 20s, tattooing wasn't huge. There's 10, 15 shops in the state, and we went around and met each other, and we hung out and we did little things. And sometimes there was little wars here and there, believe it or not. I mean, people still had issues with you open up shops close to them and stuff like that. And that's what I like about it now. If you open up across the street from me, that's fine. I mean, I'm gonna do my job. You're gonna do yours. There's plenty of business. I've never been one of those protective of the industry type thing. I mean, I don't want bad stuff in it, but I'm not trying to keep good stuff out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to hear that, because I feel like there's still a lot of that goes on today, but I feel like a lot of it's driven by what you said, bad stuff coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you got some guy opening a shop across the street from you that doesn't know dick shit about tattooing. They just see dollar signs and they
Oh
want to
yeah.
make money, and then they start scalping your clients, and it's kind of a fucked up situation. So,
Well, and unfortunately, the fortunate thing is now, and some people don't like it, but all the television shows about tattooing, yeah, some of them are cheesy and some of it's scripted. In reality, it's still educational to the clients. And some clients that aren't educational in that, I mean, they're going to that guy because he said it was $100 cheaper. And then, they don't know until it's too late. And now you're fixing it. Now it's your headache. You know what I mean? And you want to do it because you feel bad for the client. But um, so that's why I like, the educational stuff out there for the clients. And I think that's what's important about tattoo expos as well is, and doing like we do it, where it's a portfolio submission. So when people come to that, and we have over 5,000 people there, they get to look at and see what tattooing is supposed to be like, what it's supposed to look like. So when that guy opens up across the street with the $50 tattoos, they're like, I know what those look like. You know what I
you know
mean?
what you pay for, yeah.
Well, we had a guy here in Indianapolis, and I'm still I've kind of let it be for the time being. I'm hoping they would go out of business, and they might by now. I don't know, but he opened up even underneath Ink Therapy under my name in another little city north of us here, and their website said we do $25 an hour tattoos because we're not about the money, we're about the art. And I'm like, I'm about the art. Don't get me wrong. I mean, 100%. If you know me, I'm about the art for sure. I mean, if I could move this, I'm in the country, so I won't move my camera because I would lose connection. This house is covered in artwork everywhere. You know what I mean? Like that's what I live art. I mean, I don't even know anything other. Sometimes that's why I'm thankful for Trina again because I'm so focused on tattooing and the art that I don't really know much outside of tattooing. You know what I mean? Like I know how to tattoo and make shit happen. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's a pretty common theme in amongst tattoo artists. We're not the best business people.
But we know how to make it happen. That's
We
funny
do.
because we went to Motor City and I was with my friend Brittany, and when we left, it was like her first expo, and I said, "You realize everybody in there is like a badass? Because think about it, like everyone in there is making their dream happen. Like think that's wild, man. I mean, there's 100 and something people that actually went after their dream when we know so many people that are sitting around not." So yeah, tattoo artists, they're amazing. Even the worst of us because they're still making their dream happen. They're going after stuff. It's a daily hustle. You might not know how to word it, put it together professionally yet, and thankfully there's people like you out there trying to bring stuff like this to educate people and so many other things. The Guy Atchison website. There's so many things that are educating artists and making them better professionals. But just the fact that they're driven people like they are is to me impressive.
Yeah. I really appreciate your passion for tattoo history, because I've always had a passion for it, but I would say recently I've been getting, uh, really ever since I started the podcast back up, I've really been getting way more interested in the history of tattooing, but like going way back, you know what I mean? Like I've been watching a lot of Ed Hardy stuff, and I was watching some Gilmani interviews the other day, and Gilmani was talking about people that inspired him to be a tattoo artist before he was a tattoo artist, and
Yeah.
talking about like people that Bert Grimm, who was tattooing on like Bonnie and Clyde, and like I'm like, dude, that shit blows my mind when you start listening to these stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that that's what's crazy about tattooing. Unfortunately, I've been in it long enough to have relationships, with Lyle. I had lots of time with Lyle Tuttle as a young tattoo artist. I had lots of time with Gilmani, lots of good conversations, and some of my favorite stuff is only 5 years ago. Me with the rotary machine and Gilmani and his buddies over there, and I'm explaining this rotary to him. He's just like,
What the fuck is this?
this. You know what I mean? But super cool guy still, always. But
Yeah.
yeah, once you start talking to those guys and you see it, and like I say, I was just fortunate enough to be around it so much as a young child, and then even when Junior Purvis, I started working with him, we started traveling the country and doing tattoo expos, and took me to New Orleans, and it was like a real old school convention. So it was Judy Parker, Gil Monty, Lyle Tuttle, Philadelphia Eddie. So I've just gotten to get really rooted in with the right crowd of people that all did it because of love and passion and serious driven people back then. I mean, especially we talk about now the drive. Think about then, it was illegal, it was hidden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was so many different things that made it impossible. But then, and that's why I think it's important to appreciate, like, your road is easy now. Not only in tattooing, just in history in general. That's why it's important to know your history for real and all sides of it, not just the written sides of it. Knowing the tattoo history, and like a guy used to take a piece of plastic and engrave, or take a razor knife and cut in, stencils into that, then put some powder in there, and make these acetate stencils that were, man, you wonder why some of the patterns look bad. A guy cut that in there with a razor knife and a piece of plastic stenciled on there. I don't know if you ever tried to tattoo with an acetate stencil, but they don't apply very well. Um, but so it altered it, and I think that's important to see that. And it was impressive to me when I did my first tattoo expos. It was Days of Dead tattoo expos with me and Scott Majeski.
Mm-hmm.
And we did those, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. And the first time I brought out my history stuff, I was impressed how many people were excited about it. Like, I was like, just brought it to kind of fill some space, because we were a smaller, tattoo expo back then. And I brought it out, and I was just amazed at not only the older cats that were like, damn, that's me in that International Tattoo magazine when I was 20, you know what I mean? And it was just neat to see guys that I actually had stuff from that I didn't even connect with because it had been so many years. And then see the young guys that were like, what is that? Hey, and now at the expo, most of the time I don't take too much of my stuff just because there's a lot here. And I'm single, so my house is decorated in all tattoo history. You know what I mean? So it's my home decor basically.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll load some of it up and take it up there, and I still got stuff in boxes. So I'll take some of it, but my main collection up there is Dave Salone, who owns Freehand Body Art in Brownsburg, Indiana, and he brings up and fills up probably 10 cases at the new location, because we get to put them in the walls and down the aisle. So his his collection, along sometimes we'll have Mike Skyver out there, Dana Brunson, Nate Harmon. He has a shop in Muncie, Indiana, and he's been tattooing here for years and has a huge collection. So he's heavily been involved and been at Indy Tattoo Expo every year and set up some of his stuff. We got Lauren from Tattoo Charlie's comes up, and she sets up some of their stuff and displays a little bit of stuff. In the past, we've had Eric Smolsky from up in northern Indiana have the Roy Boy collection at the expo. So having all that stuff and seeing those roads paved is like, and I tell people also, what I mean, I got a bad memory, so I got to surround myself with it so I can always remember and stay appreciative of it.
It is. It's super cool, man. I mean, I like history in general, but the tattoo history obviously is extra special because it's where we're from. You know what I mean? And like, I mean, dude, I went to Jimmy Whitlock's Lucky Supply in Florida, and he's got a huge tattoo museum set up there. And,
so bad. It's one place I haven't made it.
oh man, this dude's got so much stuff, dude. It's just crazy, right? Like,
yeah,
you just think like, man, how do you accumulate? I mean, where do you find this stuff, bro? Like, and I've seen your collection, and I've seen a lot of the people that you've had at Indy Tattoo Expo, and it's special when you can walk up to a table and see Roy Boy's wrestling boots. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. It's fucking crazy. Yeah. Like, how are those things even still around, bro?
Yeah, it's really neat when you can put your hands on it. I mean, I got to hold an actual Edison, pen and stuff. Like, come on, there's like 6 in the world.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's funny that you say that because, like, I have a collection, and to be honest, I had a guy over here, and we were looking, and I was showing him stuff because he's into it, and I like realized how much of mine's still in boxes. You know what I mean? And like behind me, I have a little display here, has a little bit of stuff in it. But when I went out to Dana Brunson's house and we went over to his house, I was just like, whew. And kind of like you, I'm like, how do you obtain this? And he said, well, when I started getting this stuff, it wasn't history. It was just me and my buddy's stuff. And I'm like, damn, I mean, you got a picture of you and Paul Rogers and Junior Buddy stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but he was Paul Rogers was the mentor, or that apprenticed his guy DC Paul. So that's how Dana. So they were all just connected, and that's why I have Summer Rabbit stuff and just people I've worked with and stuff I've collected. So I joke sometimes to everybody, like, some of my stuff's not history yet because I'm still alive, but it gets there. I'm getting old. I'm 48 this year, so
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's neat to see the big collections like that, though, like where it's just like you can tell they're 50 years in. I'm 30 in, and at one point I had stuff and I was like, what am I going to do with it? And I was moving and I gave shit away, and now I'm just like, man. But my collection's it's decent. It's no probably Jimmy Whitlock or any Dana Brunson, anything like that. But I got some cool stuff, and it's more meaningful because some of it's the history of my, where I came from and people I know. So that's kind of tight. But when I go in and I see and can walk up on something that, like, what goes through my mind is how many hands, like, if you take a piece of history, like Dave has a power unit, it's like 100 years old there. You know what I mean? Like, how many hands have touched that? How many tattoos have been done with a 100-year-old power unit?
Yeah.
That's insane, right?
It is insane.
He tattooed people with it every year. If you're a tattoo artist and you're like into the history, Dave meets up with a few people afterward, and he'll, at his shop, and he'll tattoo them with I think it's a 120-year-old tattoo machine and that 100-year-old power supply.
That's crazy.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to get down and see Jimmy's collection, bro, because like the one thing I remember the most in his collection, which is very, very vast. I mean, this dude's got, I've never seen that much flash. I've never seen those, as many tattoo machines in one place. I mean, like, this guy's got crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But one thing that he had that I never even knew existed was he has like a cartridge system from like way the fuck back, man. Like, I didn't even know.
Oh,
I don't even know what year it's from.
The rotaries are new, and they were actually predating some of the coils. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. It's like these spring-loaded steel cartridges. Like, and they don't look anything like the cartridges that you think of today. Like, it's a completely different system, but it's essentially the same thing, kind of, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a needle bar that's like attached to a spring that goes inside of a metal tube, but it's made for quick change in the tattoo machine, kind of like cartridges are today. It never really took off. It just, but it's kind of cool to see that, like, to see the actual physical specimen of what somebody thought of that long ago.
You think he was probably the only person who used it? Didn't take off because they didn't have marketing like they do now. They didn't have
Right.
If you wanted to get something done from Rob, I would have wrote you a letter a week ago and waited for you to receive it, and then a week later I'd get one back from you, and that's how we traded secrets and stuff.
Yeah. It was fun. And speaking of you mentioned Junior Purvis, who I'm glad you brought him up because I actually met Junior years and years ago in Indy, and it was a tattoo expo in Indianapolis, but it wasn't yours.
Yeah, it was. Well, they had Lyle Tuttle put one on back early '90s or late '90s, maybe early 2000s. Indianapolis had a bunch of rules, and so they came against it, wouldn't let it happen again. So there wasn't one for years. And then Dave Salone and Rick Hansen threw Tattoo Underground for 2 years. Actually, it was the same place that I threw Indy, except they had changed it into a hotel instead of just a convention hall like Dave and them had thrown it. But they threw Tattoo City Underground for a couple of years, and I think that's probably where you met everybody at that time, because that was mid 2000s or so.
Yeah, it wasn't a very big show. I mean, it was relatively small. I there weren't very many people there, but that was where I first met Junior Purvis. And keep in mind also that social media wasn't very big. It might not even have been really a thing at all. I don't even.
Yeah, I mean, if it was,
I don't even know.
What, we had MySpace back then?
Probably. I don't even know, dude. But I remember seeing Junior's work for the first time, and it was actually Scott Majeski's back piece, that horror back piece that he has that Junior did. And I remember seeing that back then, and I was mind blown. I was like, holy fuck.
Surface Pros, man.
Dude.
You know what I mean? I just talked about that piece the other day. That piece and Junior's work and like my leg sleeve, if you've seen it, this was before Surface Pro, man. This was this guy actually doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And it was like the first like real like exposure to like a horror realism tattoo that I'd ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
I
I'm
got fortunate with that being him being my second mentor in the second part of my career. Mind blowing and changed everything I knew about tattooing as far as applying art to tattooing. Rabbit taught me all the fundamentals of tattooing, throw down some traditional stuff. But when Junior was like, "Hey, you can apply your art like those paintings you're doing to this," and I was like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean? Mind blown. Just like you
Yeah,
when you
bro. I
it
love
was like,
catching up with
"Whoa,
Junior today, man, because I can sit here because now he paints a lot at the shows and stuff, and
oh yeah."
I can just sit there and watch that dude paint for fucking ever, dude. Like his shit is fucking mine. I mean, that dude's on a whole different level, bro.
I tell people that. Years ago, one of my favorite stories. We're at the bar, and you know how us tattoo artists hate when you're at the bar and somebody wants, drunk guy wants to mess with you, and we're sitting there, and he's just being a total dick about like, oh, you're such an artist, do this, and instead of getting crappy, Junior is like, grabs this napkin, and tries to challenge Junior to do something, and this dude whips out like this badass drawing on this napkin, and everybody's like, damn, and I'm like, man, that's one thing Junior taught me, and I realized that I can do better is like, this is your job. It's what you love to do. So when someone challenges you, show off. So when that walk-in comes in, don't be like, oh, I need 4 days. Like, show off. Show your skills off. Put that in your head, in your mindset. And if you give him 2 sticks and some mud, I swear he'd make a masterpiece. That's a fact.
Yeah, dude. He's just a down. He's just a true artist. Like,
Oh, yeah. No, if you've seen the stuff that I've seen Junior create, it would blow your. I mean, the first time I seen him grab an airbrush and airbrush a vehicle, it's like Jesus and these doves. And I mean, like like somebody who's been doing it for years. You're not. This ain't no basic. And again, this was pre Surface Pros and being able to put anything together. Scott's back piece, he put that together in his mind, laid it out on there on paper and on patterns, and then blended all that stuff to work correctly out of his mind.
yeah, dude. That tattoo when I first saw it, man. I mean, I came away from that show inspired by that tattoo, man. I was like, holy fuck.
Changed what you thought could happen in tattooing, didn't
I
it?
never, I never seen anything like it before that. You know what I mean? I never saw. I mean, you got to think, dude. Like, and go back talk about Cockroach's shop a little bit. That was probably a flash shop mostly, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, flash shop. We did little bangers all day long. Hell, we did 10, 20 tattoos a day at least. You know what I mean? Because they were small bangers, and everything was flash. I don't think there was a. I mean, you might have changed a name or a color, but it was bam, 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 and people were lining up. So totally different style. That's what I mean. I went from that to like Junior's like, oh no, we're painting on people, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Large scale custom fucking collages on people's freaking bodies and shit, man. It's crazy, you know?
Game changer, game
But
changer, man. And it's crazy because Junior being like silent and just a hard worker throughout his career. And yeah, we traveled to some old school, but tattooing was different. We didn't have social media. In some sense, a lot of people probably don't even realize like he's important to tattooing to a lot of people here in India. I mean, there's a lot of indie artists that know it, but like in the industry, man, it would be great if people like him. And that's why I try to keep the expo alive, is because if people like him can get recognized forever, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't have a kid who tattoos, or and he's got plenty of apprentices who tattoo underneath him. But some people don't carry that stuff on well, and it'd be a shame for people not to know that before you guys even thought about doing that, Junior Purvis was doing that. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Like it's cool that people. I'm glad to hear you say that. Like, hey man, I left this tattoo expo, almost 20 years ago. Like, whoa, this dude blew my mind. I think about that. That's almost 20 years ago, Rob.
Yeah, dude, I
You
know. I know, bro. I know, man. And I'm glad, I formed a connection with that dude at that show and we're still friends today, so that just goes back to talking about the importance of networking and getting yourself out there and meeting other people,
Oh, I was at another show, and Kid Paul and London, they worked beside Junior at Indy one year. And Paul comes up to me, he's like, man, thanks for putting me beside that Junior. He's like, and Paul's an amazing tattoo artist already. And he's like, man, that dude changed how I tattoo. And I'm like, really? He's like, and I mean, I know Paul to be an amazing tattoo artist as well. And he was like, yeah, man. He's like, just talking to him and like how he can explain stuff. He was like, he changed my tattoo. And I was like, that's exactly what I want Indy to be. I go to some shows and you notice I'm not as involved. I'm a smoker, but I'm not a big partier. And, I don't like the crowds that want to go out and party. Like, I like the people who stay at the hotel. We talk about tattoo history. We talk about techniques. And, that's just, one of those things where when someone says that to me, hey, I learned something at Indy Tattoo Expo, that lights me up because that was the reason I wanted to do it differently than most expos, and was form an elevation of tattooing, help elevate each other involved in it, and not just be, let's go party for the weekend. Like, let's go learn. One of my favorite moments at Indy Tattoo Expo is it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're standing outside smoking, and I hear Thomas Hunt and my daughter Sierra talking over off to the side, and he's like, add more black, do this, that, stuff I've told her, but of course she's my daughter, so she listens less, and she's an amazing artist now, but, and it's funny that was like one of my favorite moments, was seeing my daughter get to experience what I remember back in New Orleans, sitting outside front talking with people, and, learning. It's 3 o'clock in the morning and we're still learning. We're not just so hammered that nobody remembers what happened.
Right.
I enjoyed that part of the expo and everybody hanging out like that. That's how I got a close connection with Brian from Kingpin. I met him in New Orleans, 20 years ago, right? Almost when Kingpin was taking off. I've been buying from Kingpin for almost 25 years.
Yeah.
And they just celebrated 25 years not too long ago, right? So,
They've been around for a long time, man.
Yeah. See, when I first started buying, obviously Spalding and Rogers, Philadelphia Eddies, then we had United Supplies. Then local people started having stuff, but I bought from Kingpin as far as and I still buy from Kingpin for that. I'm loyal. I buy some of my stuff from them, but because I've always had that connection with Brian, you know what I mean? And when I call him order stuff, it's like me and you talking on the phone instead of me. So that was really convenient over the years, having that connection, because tattooing was so different and awkward, I think,
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit let's keep talking about the expo. When did you start the Indy Tattoo Expo, and what was your inspiration for wanting to do that?
Well, like I said, Scott Majeski and I had done Days of Dead Tattoo Expo, and we'd done, I think, 4 expos. Then some life events and stuff came up, so we took a break from that. I'm from Indy. I've been tattooing in Indy for 32 years. I'd actually started probably, I'd say 2018 or so, trying to, see if we could get it downtown Indy, try to change laws, talking to people. And it took years of just realizing that, Indianapolis wasn't going to allow it in the actual city of Indianapolis. And I was in Plainfield, where my tattoo shop was, and they were building a new hotel. So before they completed the hotel, I walked over, and Trina and I got with them, and we contacted them and sat down, and we're like, hey, we're going to put this expo on. We want it to be elevating. We want it to be elegant. It's 1920s themed. And people always ask why. And the 1920s is, that is when tattooing was, a lot larger than people think. That was when cosmetic tattooing was actually larger than people know about, because of the cost of products and material and stuff like that. But 1920s to me is like when I feel like art started getting its recognition as a business that people made a living off of. The Art Deco.
Yeah.
That's when like art became a paying source really for a lot of people, I feel like. And if you look back, it's just one of the most beautiful times of history, from the buildings to just how people dress. So we try to do that at the expo and just bring this different class. I always tell people I'm going to make it the sexiest tattoo expo there ever was. You know what I mean? Everybody in there. It's so nice when I look around and everybody's dressed up and they look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, Trina and I came together at the hotel. We were supposed to do the first one in 2020. Obviously that got canceled because of COVID. So that was kind of like, oh man, like, first expo, like I'm trying to throw by myself, totally putting it on. I have Kingpin as a sponsor. I have you, True Tubes, and Ink Addict, I think at the time, maybe. So small. I mean, it's just a small group of us people trying to make it happen for each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they cancel it. And I'm just like, oh man, like, I've done paid for some stuff. Luckily, that was a good lesson because I learned not to date too much stuff now. You know what I mean? Like posters and shirts. And they're like, why don't you put the date on there? Man, I've been stuck with a box of stuff with the wrong date on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. That sucks. That shit's not cheap.
You want to know the date? Look back at the posters. It'll tell you what year that shirt's from. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, canceled year one, which was a little bit stressful, but it was kind of nice, giving me time to dial in some stuff. Get over, like, Also, it was a lesson. Like I try to tell people, like never start something not knowing how much you're willing to lose first. You know what I mean? Like, because then if you lose that, like you expected that loss, that it's a cost, but a loss, whatever. So that helped us dial through that. And then when 2020 came around, or 2021 came around, fortunately, where I had it scheduled and all the mandates ended, what, maybe 2 months before Indy Tattoo Expo, the first one in 2021. So it was like the first thing people could actually go do. So people were like, boom, you know what I mean? And I think that's what kind of helped it take off big too. I mean, it was people were ready to get out and do stuff. We hadn't seen our friends and families. I mean, you know how it is on the road at the expo. Like a lot of people are people that you really want to see, and if you lived in the same state, you'd probably hang out every day.
Yeah.
But you don't. So getting back out on the road and seeing everybody, and that was just kind of my inspiration, man, is to make something nice, represent people like Junior in the industry, Rabbit, make sure that his legacy goes on, and make sure that all these people that are in Indy are getting recognized like everywhere else I went. I'd go other places, and there's so many of these, well-known, famous, if you want to call them whatever, artists and people that are known for their history, whether they're still doing it or they're passed away. And I thought Indy was getting overlooked a lot, for like, man, I know so many people here in Indiana, you know what I mean? Like, it was so connected and important to a lot of, history that people don't even realize it, you know what I mean? Like, Fred Clark had a tattoo shop in Indiana in, I think, the late 1920s on Washington Street. Now I went there to the address, and it's like the middle of like an alley. The hotel's downtown now, but I mean, there's so much stuff that had happened with tattooing here in Indiana that I thought it was important to kind of start showing the tattoo history, make it easier on myself to promote it correctly because it's the city I'm in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, being that I've been tattooing for so long and I was such a busy artist, that the number of clients that were like, man, I wish there was one around here, because I'd always go and they know I went. And I think more the crowd of people were asking for it more than the artists that were in Indiana. You know what I mean? I think the Indiana consumers were like, man, like this looks cool. We're seeing it on TV. We're seeing it in the books. We hear about there's magazines at the store, but like, wouldn't that be cool if there was one here in Indiana? And so it took a lot of work. And honestly, without Trina, I think a lot, and I got a lot of ideas, but I'm not one to follow through on emails that well. It's just not my gig. You know what I mean?
Sure.
2 emails, I've got a headache, I need to take a break. I could paint for 20 hours straight and not even need a break, but you give me 2 emails and I'm over that shit.
Well, and it's a lot trying to chase everybody down. I mean, that's just kind of a...
Yeah, that's the thing this year. Honestly, Trina's a little pissed this year at people because it blows my mind. You guys travel every fucking weekend. You travel every weekend, and the 3 pieces of paper that every tattoo expo needs, you somehow don't have them in the same damn location and can't click one button and send it to people. That blows my mind. Blows my mind that you got tracked down. Think of it. We're dealing with 200 artists, 160 of them we've had to chase down to get paperwork or things different ways out of 200. That's insane, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of work. So, yeah, Trina's got the patience, and not really the patience. She's irritated with them, but to me, I'd be like, I guess that dude ain't coming. I'm moving on. You know what I mean? And the first couple of years, myself, Brittany, and Kenny Salone, me and Kenny, we've drove to so many tattoo expos, so many tattoo shops, that just Kenny and I alone, the work we put in driving and talking to people. Then you add in Trina chasing down all those people, Brittany writing up all the bios for people the first couple of years. Liz, writing up more bios and contacting other people, and and then Trina, and then Penny. Now, thankfully, Penny's joined our team. And she's really been a blessing because there's so much stuff that she helps Trina with. Because Trina knows I'm still tattooing. I'm loudmouth, just going around trying to be personality to get this to happen and going to the shows. But Trina and Penny are the ones handling all the paperwork, all the volunteers, making sure that things are done on the button and up side. I'm like, hey, I got this crazy idea, and they're like, oh my god, and then they're like, hey, we got it taken care of. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I'm sure the two of them sometimes when I'm sitting like, hey, I got an idea, they're like, and Mike Shaw had an idea the other day for stuff for next year, and I was like, hey, you go ahead and introduce that to Trina. She'll probably agree with it since it's you and not me. Because at the hotel, my whole thing was 1920s. is, tattoo started the traveling circuit with the circus and stuff like that. That's how like tattoo expos got started. Was us, in the 20s starting to have a tattoo artist or the tattooed man at the circus and so forth. And then there was people, then the crews getting tattooed in the background, and that's really where tattoo expos came from. People don't even realize that. And you had one guy be like, well, why is there a sideshow and all that always involved in tattooing? Like expos, like that's kind of stupid. I'm like, no, it's kind of the history of tattooing actually.
Right.
To have Chris and Mabel at my show, I mean, to me, that's a blessing. One, they're historic. They're two of the most amazing people you'll ever meet. And they bring a side of it, and they understand that side of it, too, that is heavy tattoo history to have circus and sideshow. So originally I wanted to do that. We brought that, in, but the hotel wouldn't let us do nothing outside. So the new location now at the fairgrounds, they're amazing people to deal with. And having all the outdoor stuff we were able to add this year, we're getting ready to, but at first I'm like, I want a Ferris wheel and I want, circus stuff. And Trina's like, you want to get what? You want rides? And I'm like, yeah, we can get rides out there. Like let's make this something like old school tattoo expo. They went to the World Fair up in Chicago, and there's everything that you could think of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you got to do, man. I really appreciate shows like yours, like Hell City. Those really original shows that bring unique qualities to the table. Because so many tattoo shows are just so much generic cookie cutter shit. That always the same stuff. You know what I mean? And there's nothing nostalgic or really special about them. You know what I mean? So I really do appreciate that attention that you put into the show for sure. And definitely last year, I think, was last year your first year at the fairgrounds?
Yeah, last year was the first year at the fairgrounds. So
yeah, so that was quite a bit different because it was bigger. You had more artists there, and all the outside stuff that you had was cool, man. You had the old cars there.
yeah,
That was super cool to see.
those are Dave's cars too. Dave and his wife, they built those cars, and then one of those cars was actually Dave's grandfather's. So
Dude. And they run, and he's driving them around and shit. And I'm like, that's crazy.
yeah, they're pretty cool. This year we're gonna try to do a little cruising, get some more cars out there and stuff. And next year we'll try to do a full on car show. We do have an outdoor concert on Saturday night this year. But yeah, the outdoor area with the food trucks too. How many artists come like, man, I think it's the best I've ever eaten at a tattoo expo.
It is.
And usually you step outside to chill with each other, but you just step out on the sidewalk in front of a hotel, and then you step back inside. Where when you stepped outside, there was a whole other world, wasn't it?
Yeah, everybody's out there talking and just breaking bread together and just meeting people. And you're right. It is the best I've ever eaten at a convention because fucking convention food sucks, bro.
Oh, I know. And we have some really good food trucks, man. We've been blessed with that. We've added a few this year. And every year we're going to add a few more. By next year, I think it'll be extremely larger than what people are used to as far as the outdoor area. We just want to dial everything, make sure everything works in before we get, crazy with it. But we've added a lot this year. Even we have axe throwing, we have laser tag, we have a big bounce house area for the kids, balloon animals, face painting, outdoor vendors, you name it, man. We're trying to put it all together out there and make it something unique. And like you're saying, the other one, some of the expos I go to, and there for a while I went and I was really kind of like shitty because not only do we do, try to do something unique with it and put some art into the expo because it's about art. So why shouldn't the expo be artistic as well? We give every artist some sort of token. If you've bought a booth and you're registered to tattoo there, when you sign up for your booth, when you come in to register and get your paperwork, we're giving you a gift every year. We've given out different types of gifts, which is cool because I also feel like that's creating tattoo history because only a certain group of people have these things. You know what I mean? They're not widely available. So that's been really neat to create that. But I will say, I go to some expos and people talk crazy about them, but there are values, and even the ones that don't bring nothing other than tattooing. We're more seasoned, so I get that we're like, we want more out of it and we want it. And then for a while, I was a little irritated, but I realized some of the kids who wouldn't make it into Indy Tattoo Expo or Hell City, because it is a portfolio submission show, they're making it into these shows and they're getting to work next to somebody better and they're getting to learn. So there is a value in those. I try to always change in my ways of thinking of trying to find positive and everything. And some of those shows, when I look at them, like, the promoter probably could have spent some money on doing some stuff, but hey, you know what he did do? He gave this guy an opportunity. So what that guy does with it, that's his business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, we went to a show in Florida, and not even the one you're probably thinking, but before that, before Indy Tattoo Expo even. And it was a bust. I mean, the show was nice, location. They just didn't promote or anything. And artists were leaving by Saturday. But I stayed there, chilled with Gil, got to have a lot of conversation with Gil Monty, which was, to me, I mean, I'll take a weekend with him over sitting at a tattoo expo with 1,000 people anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got to meet Hot Dog, and you've met Hot Dog. I mean, that's one of the greatest characters you'll ever meet. And that's become one of my best friends and one of my buddies. And so I think you always find opportunities in even those crappy situations. Because I look at it, I'm like, man, I met Hot Dog 6 years ago, and it's probably one of my most trusted people in my circle now. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah. I mean, I just think it's cool just to meet people and hear people's stories. You know what I mean? Like, it's just super fucking cool, man. I sat down with Deb at a convention one time, and I'm listening to her tell all the stories about Roy Boy, because I obviously can't talk to Roy Boy anymore. But I mean, dude, this chick's got stories, bro. Like, wild stories, man. And it's crazy that shop is still open today. Badlands is still open, and she's tattooing there. You know what I mean? And it's fucking crazy.
That is wild, isn't it? That's one place I'd like to make a trip up to here soon. You know, with COVID, after you, when I kind of took out my traveling to shops because a lot of places were closed and had weird things. So I drove to a few places, and so I took a couple of years off of traveling. But I went to over 160 tattoo shops, you know, across the country trying to promote the expo. But yeah, to go up there and go in shops and meet somebody like that and look around a building that, again, think of how many people, we're talking 50 some years. I mean, when that place opened, you know what I mean?
And dude, most people don't even go into Gary anymore because it's fucking crazy, right? Like,
yeah.
Like most people tell you, don't even stop in Gary, just drive past that fucking place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, I grew up different though, so no place bothers me like that.
Right. I get it.
I'm always prepared too. Shit, you know what I mean?
Well, for people like us, I mean, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
like,
but if you talk to the commoners, they're like, "Yeah, don't do that."
but I'm just saying that out of respect for the place where that shop is at and the fact that it's still there. Like,
oh yeah. If you can keep a successful business for over 40 years in a rough city like that has ran 90% of every other business out of there. I also think that says a lot for how tough tattooing is and what tattooing should symbolize. I mean, if that ain't a tattooing of true tattoo or a symbol of true tattooing, what is? You know, I mean, if that doesn't say like how permanent and how strong tattooing is, then nothing does. Because you're right. I mean, they've survived 40 plus years. Hell, it's probably even longer than that. I don't even know when they opened. You know, in one of the roughest places in the country.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, we
wild.
should road trip there, man. We should go there one day. Just
I'm
freaking
down for that.
just hop in the fucking car and just go up there and visit and say what's up.
You let me know, man. You know, I mean, I stay pretty open once the expo's over, so
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool to go do that with you.
that
Do
would be a
something.
neat trip, wouldn't it? You know, what I mean, I mean, get some time with each other, but also, I mean, that's also building those memories of tattooing and that history that gets passed down to somebody else. Wow, you know, one day Rob and Chris went up there and they did this, and you know, I mean, all that just keeps that history rolling. I think, you know, and if we don't go, that's one less thing that we don't get to pass down the story of how awesome it was to go see this or what we've seen, because now 10 more generations didn't see what we've seen.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. I was talking to Tramp from Eternal, talked to him quite a bit, but he was closing up one of his shops in Detroit a couple months ago, and he had all this flash that he didn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? And he's like, I don't know what to do with this shit. You know, I was like, well, fuck. He's like, I'm gonna throw it in the dumpster. And I was like, I was like, don't do that. But I don't know what happened to it, man. But I was just like, oh my God, dude. And just to think about like,
well, I mean, that's another legend in tattooing that, enough people, unless you went to Motor City or know Eternal. And, I only, people don't even realize, like, that's a legend in tattooing, but he's been in it so long, that just pieces of paper to him, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And to me, when I was like, oh, hell no, I'll drive a fucking box truck up and bro, you can't throw that shit in the trash, man.
I have a stack of the flash racks. I have them stacked up out in my storage building there. I was at a guy's house. He's like, if you don't take that, I'm going to throw all that flash in those racks away. And I'm like, shit, I guess I'm loading these up. I don't really want them, but I don't want them either.
I don't know what Tramp ever did with that flash. I never got a call from him. I said, hey, man, he's like, I'm going to try to see if I can get somebody to come pick this stuff up. And if I don't, I'll give you a call. He never gave me a call. So I'm hoping he actually got somebody to come pick it up and it didn't end up in the dumpster.
Yeah, there was somebody else smart that was like, oh, hold on, I'll come grab that. You know what I mean?
I don't even care about the flash. I just care about its tramp's flash, and I'm not, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
but
man.
the business of tattooing is brought to you by Electrum Supply, the industry leader in high quality tattoo supplies designed by artists for artists. Whether you need premium stencil products, top tier cartridges, or game changing aftercare, Electrum has you covered with innovative, artist tested solutions you can trust. Want to elevate your work? Head over to electrumsupply.com and stock up on the best gear in the business. And because you're a listener of the business of tattooing, use code podcast10 at checkout for 10% off your next order. Stay sharp, stay stocked, and stay ahead with Electrum Supply. But yeah, dude, what's your most prized possession out of your whole tattoo history collection? What's the thing you have that's means the most to you?
Man, there's a few things really, but I only have very little of Rabbit stuff. He was a guy who liked to help people out a lot, like myself too. Probably part of where I got it from, between him and my mother. Always doing for people. So I only have very little of his stuff. And one time, Trina, his husband, was cleaning out some old toolboxes, and he found two business cards of Rabbits, like old ones, like hand drawn business cards from back in the day. Um, and Trina gave me one of those, and it took me a couple of days. I told her like a week later. I was like, "Sorry, I didn't really respond," but like I was kind of emotional just getting that card because I didn't at that time I didn't have really nothing of his. You know what I mean? Um, and I had a bunch of other history stuff. So that's probably one of my favorite things. One that it's his, it's hand drawn. Trina gave it to me, so it connects a lot. And it was like one of those things where it was like, oh wow, I got something of Rabbits. And then later, I was fortunate enough to obtain like the old tattoo sign, Tattoos by Rabbit, that had always been in his booth for as long as I can remember as a child. So having that stack of photos of him tattooing and that business card, I would say probably it's probably not the most expensive in some things, but to me, that's the most valuable thing because it's his and it was given to me by Trina.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That wasn't that. I wouldn't have expected an answer like that. So that's cool
Yeah.
that is the answer because that's pretty
Yeah, I'm emotional
significant
about it. I
pizza.
mean, I'll get emotional if we start talking about that stuff because,
Yeah.
man, I'm 48. I've been tattooing almost 32 years, so it's like my whole life, and it's given me everything I have. So, yeah, I mean, there's less value to tattooing to me as there is elevation. I think that the real value is in the number of elevated people around you. So sometimes when I think of things that mean something to me, there's usually not a lot of dollars connected to it.
Yeah. It's more sentimental.
Yeah. And I think that's what also gives value to the things that you do and you have is because you're that person that values it that way.
True. Yeah, I don't apply a lot of value to many material things, right? Like it's just shit. You know what I mean? It takes up
I might,
space.
we might have it and do shit with it, but it doesn't. That's just because it was there and it's convenient. Not that it values shit to us. It's just useful.
It doesn't feed your soul. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool that's your favorite thing. That's pretty significant. And yeah, that's cool.
It's crazy.
Uh
A lot of people would think that was really small. You know what I mean? Especially because if you've seen some of the machines I have, I mean, I have a Bob Shaw machine engraved by him. I have Bob Shaw's actual portfolio, like all his photos. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
uh,
dude, I get it. That shit's crazy to have that stuff.
I got some stuff. You know what I mean? I've got stuff that Dana Brunson's gave me, personally too. And it's tight. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, like, we're talking Rabbit, man. That's the man who taught me how to do this. Like, changed my life. You know what I mean? And it's funny because over the years, if you really know Rabbit and you know me, we were compared a lot. And like, I only have 4 kids, but everybody Rabbit had a lot of kids. Both of us had major back problems, and both of us being just real biker type guys that So it's just being that connected with him and having something personal with him. I can't even find that means more.
Is that why his name was Rabbit?
No, his name was Rabbit. I don't know if you ever seen his old military photos and stuff because Rabbit was in the military, which was also cool. And as a young kid, started my collection of military stuff. So I collect old military stuff a little bit too, because I have old photos of him in the military. But he had really large buck teeth and stuff, so that's what they started calling him Rabbit for that back then.
Okay.
Back then you could still kind of mess with your buddies and no one get offended. So
Yeah.
that became his lifelong name. I mean, think about that. Um, yeah, if you've seen some of his old photos, you're like, oh, I get it, and they're displayed at the expo on a banner I have and stuff like that too. But yeah, Rabbit was a really cool cat.
Yeah, it's funny that you said people don't get offended because it cracks me up how easily offended people are by shit nowadays. Like, it's crazy.
My new thing I think I'm going to put on my studio, and people think I'm being funny for it, but like, what I accept at my studio or who I'm friendly with or welcoming to? Humans. Humans. That's just it. Humans. You know what I mean? Like, can we drop all the other titles and say, oh, I welcome this or we're this friendly? I'm human friendly. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Like, I'm just human friendly with all jokes and everything. And you know what I mean? Like, I think that's
Yeah, it's funny because we have the same conversations at Electrum. You know what I mean? Like, we're always talking about this kind of stuff, and and I'm always like, it's real simple to me. Like, are you an artist? Yes or no?
yeah.
You're a fucking artist. I love you. I support you. Why does it fucking matter what your religion is or who the fuck cares about any of that other bullshit? I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
As long as you're not a fucking creepy fucking pedophile or some bullshit like that, I mean,
Yeah.
we're good. You know what I mean?
If you're not doing something crazy like that, I mean, do you, man, do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the greatest thing. I spoke about that before in some of my videos. I think the tattoo expos are great for mental health. You go in there and it's a room full of people who don't give a shit what you do, how you are, what you look like. There's literally so less judgment in a tattoo. I mean, we might be like, damn, like Rob be looking crazy, you know what I mean? But we're not like, no, we just think it's neat. We're not like judgmental toward it. So I think that tattoo expos are also really helpful for mental health. And
Yeah.
we had one of our volunteers' granddaughters who was kind of having an awkward time with kids in school and and stuff like that. And she came with her grandma to help at Indy Tattoo Expo one year. And when she left, she said, "Grandma, I think I found my people." She's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I'm at the Tattoo Expo. Those are my kind of people." And I was like, "That's fucking tight." Some little kid who feels awkward everywhere else just felt amazing in a room full of weirdos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tight.
Well, it's funny. It's funny being in, just being not even just tattoos, but just body modification in general, or being a person that embraces that kind of activity or personal modification, because it really, it, it's very well accepted in our crowd, in our circle, like you were saying, like the carnies and the sideshow freaks and the bearded lady type of stuff, those stereotypes that go way back. But when we come out of that element, we're still like, people still look at us like, ooh, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, it's not so bad anymore because I feel like a lot of people are tattooed now, but
Oh yeah, yeah. And even the people are still looking at us like that, but they're not looking at us in like this disgusted way. And sometimes I have to explain it to somebody like, "What are those people staring at?" Us, because we look like fucking weirdos, man. Like, why are you
that's
getting
what
bent out? They're staring at you because you look different. You know,
yeah.
like don't get mad about that.
Yeah. And it's funny, dude, because I don't know how it is in your personal life outside of tattooing. I mean, some of mine's out there on social media, but I don't generally like I hang out with my kids and my family, and none of them are like heavily tattooed people. And I hang out with other business people who are not like heavily tattooed people. And it's like funny when I'm always with groups of people, I'm like, and my friends are like, oh, they're looking at me because of something. I said, don't worry, you're with me. I'm the weirdest one here, bro. Like,
Yeah,
you
that's.
should be so confident right now. Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, yeah. Right now, nobody's even paying attention to you. All eyes are on
No,
you.
dude.
Um,
I'm the weird one right now, bro.
the crazy thing with me is like, it's funny you said like you're outside of tattooing life. Like, I don't, man, it's really weird, Rob. I don't have one of those. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, my kids tattoo, my granddaughter's tattooed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I tell people sometimes like I admire the fact that some people do, but it's been strenuous on my families, and probably why I'm 48 and still single. Man, tattooing's consumed my life, man. It really has. I'm either tattooing or working on the next method of how to make it better or be better myself, or how to contact the being right the space with the right people. Being in a room with the right people is huge. So I don't, you know what I mean? And then everything we do is, like you said, I've always been the tattooed one even beforehand. So, when my older kids were kids and in school, yeah, that was the thing. I'd go to their practices and they're like, damn, their dad just pulled up in a wife beater on a Harley, covered in
Yeah,
tattoos.
yeah, yeah.
When my kids were little, but it was so common to me. And back then, I was so driven that I didn't like to make tattooing notice that I love the fact that people were checking it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just weird how when I think about now, like there's not too many people I'm around that aren't tattooed. I mean, now that Trina and I do some other things with the community, and we'll go to a couple events and stuff, but yeah, everything I do is literally revolved around ink therapy, tattooing, or the Indy Tattoo Expo. And my kids sometimes, we've talked about my older kids, and me and my daughter kind of got into it, but like I'm like, the kids can stay after school to this after school program and get a couple more hours at the shop. And she's like, Dad, tattooing's not more important to everybody than like it is to you. And I'm like, I mean, I get it. I'm just, you know. Um,
It is becoming a lot more mainstream, though. I was on Facebook a couple days ago and I actually saw like the local high school here had a post up, and it was a picture of a 17-year-old student that just graduated, and she's tattooing at a local shop here, and they were I had a picture of her tattooing, and
highlighting it. That's awesome.
they were highlighting it. They're saying, hey, this such and such, she just graduated from, Elkhart High School last year, and look, she was an art student, and now she's working in this tattoo studio, and it was really cool to see that. You know what I mean? Because you would have never saw that shit. Fucking,
Oh, yeah.
you
No.
know.
I got in trouble back when Sierra and Kaylee were little. I sent them to preschool on career day covered in fake tattoos, which was a distraction. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you would have never seen that. We had, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, about 4 or 5 years ago, we had the Plainfield High School where we were at. We do a customer appreciation day, and we had all the art students of the kids design T-shirts, and the school was in on it. They had all of them design a T-shirt for our customer appreciation day, and then we picked the winner, and gave them some money, and then we used their shirt design. So it was kind of cool to see the school be involved. Like you said, it's like when I was a kid, they were ready to kick me out of school when I showed up with tattoos on me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, dude.
They're like, "Oh, you can't come in here with those on you."
So you don't have any real hobbies, like you're not playing basketball on the weekends with your buddies, or going to the casino and gambling, or like just going out shooting guns, or
I like to do all that a little bit, but none of it I do. I do it, regularly enough. I mean, maybe riding motorcycle. That's about it, man. I ride my Harley across country, but I'm kind of in this transition point where I'm trying to get set up and be ready. I've watched tattoo artists, myself being one of them, misspend and not be prepared for life. Then I was so busy just tattooing because I needed to do it every day and I loved it and to get where I'm at. And so I never really, other than riding my Harley, man, that's literally all I've ever done. Really is tattooed. I mean, and work out. I mean, I love to work out, but again, I feel like those are just daily plugs in my routine. But like, no, man, my thing is to like, I love to go to a tattoo expo, and that's why me and my ex split up. I think a lot of it was everything I did was around tattooing. She's like, can we do a vacation that's not like tattoo related? I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess we can. You know what I mean? Then I drive by a tattoo shop. I'm like, can we stop in there? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, you're just all about the business.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a crazy obsession. One time, Kenny and I were driving down the road, and Kenny Salone looks over and he's like, man, we're talking about it. He's like, don't get me wrong, man. I love tattooing. He's like, but I've never met somebody who it's just everything to him like it is to you. I'm like, man, I know. And in some sense, that kind of saddens me. In some sense, it makes me really proud. You know what I mean? Like, damn, I've let something consume my life so much that I don't. I mean, yeah, we shoot guns out here on my property and we go ride motorcycles and stuff, but like, no, I don't have no hobbies. And a lot of times, a lot of my friends don't even call me to go out because they're like, man, I know you ain't gonna go out. You don't like to spend stupid money. Like, no, man. I mean, I'm trying to get to a point. You know what I mean? I own right now, I have two Airbnbs and a rental property, plus the house I live in, and I'm trying to get to a point where we actually own the tattoo studio building instead of renting it. So then I can stop giving money to the renter or to the landlord and start giving more money back to the artist because too many of them aren't prepared and there's not enough money to give to the artist because of the cost of rent. So I'm always just moving forward, and to me that's fun. To go sit down and have a conversation with you. That I'd do that before I'd go out to a party at the bar. It's like I go sit down. I go over to Derb's and sit down and just we're chilling at his house, stretching at 2 o'clock in the morning and talking business and going over plans of different material. Like that stuff's what ignites me. Like just like I guess somebody who goes out and plays basketball or somehow that excites them. That's cool. But what excites me is growth. Growth, and whether that's
Yeah, yeah.
tattooing and business. But I think growth, learning to put business with tattooing, I think has given me this whole new excitement of it. Because I'd accomplished the tattooing part of it and was kind of like, oh man, this is all I ever done. But now being able to be involved with the growth and the elevation of people to learn so they can be set up and be in a better position than I'm in at 48 years old from tattooing, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. So you say you're 48 years old, and obviously you're focused a little bit more on some investments outside of tattooing with the Airbnbs and doing some different things with your money, trying to set yourself up for retirement at some point in your life. So, what is your future outlook for, Indy, the expo, shops? You got what do your growth plans look like? What
You
just going
know,
to kind of stay the course, or you to have visions of growing things more and doing
Yeah,
more?
yeah, we got plenty of visions of that. Like I say, my biggest plan and my biggest growth thing is to try to obtain where I actually own and build my own studio in the area that we're at. I want to own the building, preferably, build one from land up. And I actually have blueprints somewhere around here, which is pretty dope. If I had them, I'd show you. They're rolled up somewhere around here. But I have, so my plans are to build my own studio, own my own studio. I want to have it so that it's Indy Tattoo or the Ink Therapy Tattoo Studio and the Indy Archive. So it'd be like a tattoo history museum as well. Um, and so that's my biggest plans with the shop and everything. And hopefully the expo will continue to go. And one day my kids will take it over, Trina's kids. Um, I don't know if they're all involved and ready to do that because we're both madness with it. But I hope the expo continues to grow and elevates people. Gets better every year as far as what we're doing, and that helps. Ink therapy. That's one thing I love about Indy Tattoo Expo, and I put a lot in it. It's a lot of advertisement for ink therapy and to help ink therapy grow. That's how I've met new artists to work for ink therapy. We have 6 billboards in the surrounding city for Indy Tattoo Expo, sponsored by Ink Therapy. So really just trying to grow so that I can get that building for the shop, and then start giving artists. We obviously there's a percentage always. I still work off a percentage base, and while I think it's fair, more of that could go up when instead of every year my rent goes up to my landlord, so that's the money I can't give to the artist, and to be able to own the building, display history, bring more people in. I think that's like my biggest goal is to really just to own that building. But I've been fighting for that for years to make it happen. So um, that's the next growth plan for me. Really, is just to obtain a place where I own the studio. I'm in a little bit more control. I never want to step away from tattooing. I mean, I feel like I'll be a Mike Skyver, Dana Brunson, one of those guys that dies in tattooing. We're going to be living
Sure.
at the end of it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
they're one of them guys not being involved in tattooing until they're not here. You know what I mean? I mean, look at how many legends we've lost in the last 2 years, and every one of them, Ron Higgins, all those guys were tattooing up to that point. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I hope that's me. To be honest, I hope it is. I never want to have a point in my life where I'm not tattooing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And some people have done it their whole entire lives.
Yeah, when you like to be, I think Dana's over 50 years of tattooing. I feel like, damn, people think. I was talking to Don at Hell City, and he's like, said something. I was like, yeah, you young guys. And I was like, how old are you? And he said 30. And I was like, damn, I've been tattooing 2 years longer than you've been alive, dude. Like,
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. You ever watch the Ed Hardy videos where he was a kid drawing on his friends with markers and shit?
oh yeah, they made the little fake tattoo license and everything. I actually
Yeah, dude.
some paintings that I call my Ed Hardy paintings because I painted them while watching the Ed Hardy videos, and I did like the just kind of grab your paintbrush, paint some dragon style stuff. It was real loose and stuff. Um, and one of my favorite paintings at my studio is I have a print of the ghost tiger, and there's only like 12 of them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a print and it's hand embossed by him. And it has his thumbprint on there that he put on there. So that's probably one of my favorite pieces actually. Like as
That's
far as
pretty
art,
badass.
you know what I mean? It's pretty
That's pretty
badass.
badass, dude.
Yeah, yeah. My art, I tell people, man, if I broke out like and framed everything I got stacked up, I guess we're talking about tattoo history. I never think about the paintings and the artwork. I just think about like the tools and material. But man, I got a museum of artwork stacked up. Some of it framed, some of it just stacked up. Sitting here, I'm looking at stacks of it right now.
See, I almost like the artwork part of it more. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I really enjoy it because I love art in general. Like I love going to art museums. It just resonates with me. I've been an art student my whole life, so like I love the different mediums of art. Tattooing is a huge one of those, obviously, but like I was telling you, I could sit there and watch Junior Purvis paint forever. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
It just blows my mind what people can create. And so I'm taken by all of it. But dude, that's what I always tell people. I'm like, invest in art and invest in furniture, like fine furniture.
yeah.
Those are two areas where you can't go wrong with financial investments, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. My art, sometimes I try to use Trina to be rational because I trust Trina. Like I say, when I say Trina, like manages the shop, Trina manages my life really. um, that another good reason I don't, have a woman. I have somebody who takes care of all the stuff that someone else's wife would, to be honest. But if I want to buy something, I'm calling Trina. Can I afford this? And I'm usually trying to like get her to say no because it's a $2,000 painting, and she's like, "Well, I mean, it's an investment." I'm like, "Fuck you." No, I'm trying to rationalize not spending my money right now, but I want this painting. Like, be rational. But she's smart enough to again to know how to label everything and do it. So she's like, no, I mean, you earn the money, you deserve to have nice stuff, and it's an investment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Trina's been a blessing in just teaching me so much on how to collect that stuff and make it have value while you have it as well.
Yeah. So Indy Tattoo Expo is coming up June 6th through the 8th, right?
June 6th through the 8th.
It's
Yep.
just a couple weeks away. Um, is there room for artists still to get in, or is it pretty much
Nope.
closed up now?
We are sold out. Yep, we're sold out. And we actually added around 10 booths this year for artists, and so we still sold out pretty quickly. We had people come and go there and things change in life, but yeah, we finally sold out everything out at the beginning of the month. We do have some outdoor vendor space available in our vendor barn outside and in our outdoor lawn area where we put the pop up tents and vendors. We do have a few of those spaces still available for any local artists that want to get involved. Those outdoor spots are only $100 for the whole weekend, so great way to pop up, sell all your artwork, and I mean we have vendors of all sorts there. It's crazy some of the different types of things that are already involved. It's like people are like, why don't I be a tattoo? I'm like, it's tattooing, but there's 5,000 people coming through the door that not only want tattoos, but they're in an area. It's just like it's basically another event for the year for Indy, just like a fair. And
Sure.
Indy Tattoo Expo, World Fair is what I hope to get it to where we, have carnival rides outside and there's just more popping every year.
Yeah, so let's let all the listeners know where to find the Indie Tattoo Expo. What's the website?
So you go to indytattooexpo.com, and it's June 6th through the 8th, 2025, and we're at our new location at the Hendricks County Fairgrounds in Danville, Indiana. With so much going on this year that I think you'll be pleasantly surprised even if you were there last year.
What's the cost to get through the door if you want to come 1 day, 2 days, weekend?
We have pre-sale tickets available online right now. You can save 20% off. And then it's a $25 a day or $30 a day, and then a $75 weekend pass. And that'll get you in all 3 days.
Okay. If they obviously if somebody wants to try to see who the artists are there, they can get that information off the website. Probably got a lot of artists there with some availability if you want to get tattooed. See somebody on the website that you like. They got links to their social media contact information on the website, correct?
Yep, everything's on there. If you like an artist on there, you can contact them and set an appointment up ahead of time. Also, there's a lot of artists that will just show up. They don't want appointments; they just want to be available for walk-ins. And there's so many different styles that you can find everything. We have over 200 artists from around the world, so you can get a style from somewhere that without having to travel there, which is really cool. Um, and then we have like I say, the food trucks are there. The art though is just the artist to get a hold of an artist, get online, check out their stuff, gives you a good way of shopping through there. Contact them, even if they don't want to book an appointment, they'll be ready for you when you get there. And I'd say more than half of them are there to do walk-ins and walk-ups.
Yeah, a lot of packed in talent in a 3-day period of time. Get any kind of tattoo you want, any style you want. Check out the Indy Tattoo Expo. It's going to be a great weekend there. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer than it has been here recently.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get some good weather there. Usually it's burning hot on Indy Tattoo Expo weekend because I like to wear my suit and everything, so I'm all burning up. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. Also for the walk-ins, I failed to mention is at our merch table. Sign in where you buy your tickets. We always keep a board there of available. Artists can let us know they're available. So instead of you having to walk around and find out, we can say, "Hey, booth 72, is available," and send you over to Lynn McNew or whoever's got some available space. And then if you follow our Facebook page right now, Indy Tattoo Expo, there are artists on there posting right now that they'd like to fill a few spots. So you can contact them right there as well.
Okay, great, great. And great food, great entertainment. And like Chris said, tons of tattoo history on display you can come check out. Always going to be a good time at the Indy Tattoo Expo for sure, man. And I just want to, say, hey, man, congratulate you on your success and all the hard work that you put into this. And it's a labor of love for sure. And you can definitely tell that when you come out and spend some time with you at the show. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over all these years and have a friendship with you today. I'm serious, man. We should really take that road trip and just,
Oh, I'd love it.
yeah, that'd be fun. That'd
Yeah,
be
I'd love.
fun.
I mean, it has been, like I said, it's been a pleasure to get to know you over the years, and tattooing, and it's been through history and shows and everything. But like, I feel like we have a genuine friendship when we see each other. We're legit happy to see each other, and it's not always business. And sometimes it's why we probably don't get some things taken care of because we're like, oh shit, it's my buddy, and business goes out the window. But
Yeah, to be honest with you, dude, I'm all about business all the time, man. So, it's nice to not be about business sometimes.
yeah, yeah, I've tried to be cautious of that because I know that sometimes, even when I'm with my friends, sometimes I can be about it. So I've tried to tone that back a little bit to where appreciate the not business times. Not every conversation has to be business, but I'm always moving forward and thinking. So sometimes, unfortunately, I'll do that to you. And if I do, I got a couple buddies that are like, "Hey, man, we're not at work." And I'm like, "Cool, I like that. Thanks, man. Thanks for pulling me back. That's cool." You know what I mean?
Well, that's
Um,
why I appreciate I would say I'm 80% business and 20% not.
yeah,
But that's pretty recent, in my life. I feel like I had to really force myself to do that because I realized, like what you were saying, like I was missing a lot of shit, and I felt after my dad died, I really kind of took a different look at life and just like started realizing all the things that I wanted to do in life that I hadn't really given myself time to do. And, whether that's things like traveling. I mean, I love to hike, man. We're talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
things that I do outside of work. I love getting up in the mountains and hiking and camping and just hitting the river on a paddleboard or the lake or just,
yeah, yeah.
sometimes, bro, you got to set the business aside, man, and make some time for your own self and your mental health, man. And you're just, it took me a long time to realize that, I don't want to get to a point in my life where the box is getting closed and I'm not seeing daylight anymore. And I've missed a
Yeah.
lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I feel that a lot. Sometimes I really feel that with my older two kids because back then I was really struggling to work for Sierra and Kaylee and to survive. And, things got better. Obviously, as I got older, my younger two kids, they had some rough times, but a little bit better than my young kids. And we got to do more things. And I look back and wish I could do more things with them. And so then I see people like you guys that you out doing it and other people out traveling and doing stuff. And, I'm like, man, maybe, like I said, nothing outside of tattooing, but it's because I'm just not trained outside of it. Like you said, it was hard for you to break that cycle, and I'd like to do that because I mean, the one unfortunate thing is, like say, Liz and I split up, 2 years ago. I think now close to that, and that's why because I was so work driven, and I'm glad that it hurt as bad as it did because that was one of the things that she was trying to teach me. It was like, bro, like take a fucking break, like you don't always have to be work. Like sometimes you can, enjoy what you've earned and stuff like that. So I always again find the positives in it. Like thank God that that went down and it really woke me up to like boom. And I mean, nobody realized. I mean, some of you guys probably realized because my social media presence went down, but I spent a year just kind of like mind blown of what happened and how I missed everything, and then like really learning myself of like man, like you're not enjoying life and you're putting that pressure on everybody else as well. Like, I mean, if you're my friend or you're my girlfriend, like I'm expecting you to perform like me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and that can be harsh. And then I'm also not giving you or me a break to like have like enjoy the hard work we put in. So yeah, that's I think that's my goal over the next few years too. Is it's crazy because I have some business goals that I really want to get, but I'm also trying to find that time to like. But like I tell people like sounds good for me to go sit down. I could hike. Me and Matt Vermillion, we'll go hiking, and I like that. I've been hiking out in Arizona with Durb a few times, and um, or in Vegas, but man, a lot of times I'm not one of those people who go sit on the beach or something. Like me sitting still, we'd have to be doing something active. You know what I mean? Or I'll go
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to learn that this year because I see you guys traveling and I love it. And it is one of the only things that I'm kind of like, if you will, I guess jealous of. Like, damn man, I wish I was out doing that. But one key to having a good partner to do it with. You know what I mean? Having somebody that you enjoy doing that stuff with is key. But sometimes just going out and getting it done. I love watching people that are just traveling, finding themselves and not being all about the work. And then sometimes that makes you work a little bit better because you enjoyed going after that trip. So you're like, damn, I need to do that every year. So I'm going to make sure I work so I can pay for it.
Yeah, bro. I mean, but think about it too. Like all the tattoo shows that you said you've been to, over the years, think of all the cool places you've traveled to, and have you given yourself the time to be able to stop and smell the roses in the places you've been, like I'll tell you one thing that was really cool. Indy Tattoo Expo. It was at the old location though, right?
Yeah.
It was, I always get on Atlas Obscura whenever I'm around places, I don't know
Oh,
if
yeah.
you've ever heard of that or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I always pull up Atlas Obscura wherever I travel, because I want to know like what's cool shit around me. And I realized we were like fucking 20 minutes away from John Dillinger's gravesite, bro. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, fuck this, bro. I'm leaving the expo for a couple hours. I'm gonna go see that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They do
Dude,
like a bridge festival out in that area and stuff every year too.
bro, a couple artists loaded up in the car with me, man. We fucking booked over there, dude. Got some cool photos, man. Fucking
Yeah.
smoked a blunt with John Dillinger, bro. It was a fucking cool day, man. That was a good memory, bro.
Yeah.
And would have never done that if we wouldn't have fucking just taken a couple of hours away, you know what I mean? And just fucking step out.
Yeah, I didn't for years. I didn't. Liz and I finally started going where we had a little bit of time to do stuff a few days ahead of time, and especially when we go out to Hell City, Arizona, because it's so beautiful. We go hiking. But for the longest time, I told everybody, I was like, "Oh, it must be nice you travel." I'm like, "Man, I'm in a fucking hotel. Most of the time, I'm by myself too." Until Kenny started traveling with me, I'd be in a hotel by myself in a dope ass place. But what are you gonna go do by yourself back then? And you're broke and you're there to pay for your spot. You know what I mean? So yeah, just until the last probably 3 or 4 years did I start taking time to like not get there the day to set up and then leave the day after. And, every time we did Bill and Arts in Tampa, I started telling the guys like, if you want to leave on Monday, then don't ride with me because I'm not rushing home. I'm at least spending one day sitting on the beach doing whatever, you know what I mean? And so last year or 2 years ago, Hot Dog and I we went. We got there a couple days early. We hung out on the beach, and then before we left, we spent a whole day out on the beach. Not just Tattoo Expo because it used to be load in on Thursday, load out on Sunday, and start driving home. And I got tired of that because I realized I have been to so many cool places and really ain't seen shit.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, it must be nice. I'm like, I guess I've been places, but I've seen a lot of cool insides of hotels.
Yeah. Durban and I went to a pirate museum one time together, man. And it was, I mean, you know, just on a whim, dude. We just like, oh, they got Blackbeard's fucking pirate fucking shit over here. Let's go check that shit out. You know what I mean? A fucking cool shit, man. And you get to make memories with people, dude. And it's just fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what I love when you can do shit with people and and then have stuff to talk about later. That's more important than just oh man, remember he was so hammered and I'm telling you about what you did because you don't remember.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm not too much on going to the after parties too much anymore, like hanging out late at night. I mean, I will. Hell, I think you and I hung out late at night one night in Chicago after the show. We were up there in that fucking hotel lobby for fucking hours outside.
Yeah, yeah, and I can do that kind of hanging out, talking late, but not if we're going like I'm not. We're not all going to the titty bar and all that crazy stuff. You know what I mean?
Nah, no, 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 not at all, bro. Not at all. But I'll go climb some rocks with you, or I'll freaking we
Yeah,
can go ride some four wheelers or fucking whatever, bro.
I'm down, man. If you're going to any shows that you're going to, let me know ahead of time, man. Let's plan getting there a day earlier, staying because, like Hell City this year, Hell City always falls on my birthday, Hell City, Arizona. So that's one that I've kind of just decided, man. When I go out there, I want to go do something beautiful. It's my birthday week. It's too nice of part of the country to not do something, man. So if you're down, are you going to Hell City, Arizona?
I usually don't go to that one because it's
Man,
so freaking hot out there, dude. I just
you know, like a
and it's more
if
it's a
you're going,
little bit more fast paced than what I like to go these days. You know what I mean?
well, you know what I like about that one is it's really chill. It's not super busy. It's just really a nice retreat for all of us artists. To be honest, I feel like I mean, I'm sure there's people working, and I've worked there, but I mean, it's just such a relaxed environment. The resort is such a nice place that you can relax and chill. And if your old lady's there, she's not bored to death.
Yeah,
But if you go hiking there, you got to get up 5 o'clock in the morning and go hiking because you don't be, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. up there on the damn mountain somewhere. You be baked to a crisp.
yeah. There's no shelter.
Yeah.
You're out in
But
the middle of the desert.
you know what I love about that show though is the after party. While everybody's having a good time getting drunk, they're all in one location. No one leaves. I mean, when I say no one leaves, I mean the pool party at Hell City, Arizona, is fuck. You barely can get in the pool. There's so many people there, so everyone stays in one area, and there's groups of people having conversations everywhere. You know what I mean? So that's one of my favorite things about that show is because and when me and Scott did Days of Dead in Kentucky, and he's got the Macabre Art Show coming back in Kentucky here in August, which is pretty cool. So if you
Yeah,
haven't checked that out, check
I'm
that out.
going to that one.
Yeah. But at that one, the hotel was set up perfect, and what Scott and I loved about that was no one left the hotel. Everybody stayed there, and yeah, they were drinking and stuff, but they stayed there and had like good powwows and conversations, and the hotel was set up for it. That's the one thing I miss at the Indy Expo now is a lot of us camp out and we stay there and we hang out and we, I wouldn't say party, but we hang out late at night and chill and smoke and talk. But some people stay at the hotel because it's just a couple miles down the road. And eventually, hopefully, we'll get that to where more people are staying there because I like everybody to be together at the end of the night, the after party to be not at a bar somewhere where everybody's getting wild out, but like right there, right where we're having it. Like I said, me and you sit there and think how many good conversations and things you've connected with just at an after party with the right person. That's not.
Right, right. Hey, last year you had RVs out there. Are you still doing that this year?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the RVs you can rent a spot. It's only I think $50 for per day for the camp spot, and that's power, electric, and sewer. You can bring your own RV, but also we have a link, and of course it's close now, so it'd be kind of expensive, probably or more expensive. But they have like sharervs.com. It's sort of like Airbnb for RVs, and they'll drop off. You can pick whatever kind you want, something big, small, whatever. They'll drop it off to you, and then they'll pick it up when you're gone.
No shit.
Yeah, and it's really cool because that's again the reason we wanted to go there is because if you look at the World Fair and you look at the tattoo, or the circuses in 1920s, everybody's staying in these campers out back, and that's where the tattooing was going on back then. They weren't doing it in the circus; they were going back to that campground and doing it, which led to that coming more as part of the show. You know what I mean? So that's what's kind of cool and I think nostalgic about having the RVs there. And some people didn't understand it, and thankfully people know that I do stuff nicely, I'd like to say, because a few people are like, man, when you first said fairgrounds and RVs, I was like, Chris done lost his damn mind. But because usually you come to the fairgrounds, it's not as nice as that building. That place is nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is nice.
I mean, I know a
I
lot
didn't
of
even know
people.
I was at a fairgrounds first
Yeah,
when I came
exactly.
out there last year.
And when I first said it to some people, they were like, I had some people tell me no because it was a fairgrounds, and I had a lot of people say because it's you, I'm going to show up and trust it, but I don't know what to expect. And every one of them came up and was like, dude, that was tight.
No,
So
it worked out good. I thought it was a perfect spot, really.
I'll tell you what, as a business person, working with those people have been a blessing. After the way the hotel treated you and worked with you, the fairgrounds have been so pleasant to us to work with. Even from like when we first got there, and they basically came to us, the county, and was like, "Hey, we don't want to lose this event in our area because we were looking at other areas." And I was like, well, I don't, they supply pipe and drapery and everything. And I was like, man, I don't really like that color. We're in Indiana, and if you do black and white, it looks like like a race show to me. You know what I mean, like a checkered flag. Every show does all black, and I've always done the black and the rose gold color, or the wine color. And dude said, cool. He got on there and ordered it. Boom. All right, that's what we'll use for you. Then and ordered the shit for my expo. I'm like, man, you can't not want to work with somebody that wants to work with you like that. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And so we're signed with them until 2028. I mean, and hopefully further. Hopefully we'll go further than that with them and continue to stay there because the hotel not being there is my least favorite part of it. But there's so much that outweighs that. I think on the other spectrum that's kind of irrelevant at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, with the RV parking, we can do plenty of them there. And that's a fun little atmosphere. I know a lot of tattoo artists are divas, so they're trying to Airbnbs or the hotels. But believe it or not, man, staying in an RV. I mean, I come from camping and stuff, so that's pretty cake. If you're at the expo and what little time we all actually spend in our room,
Bro, you
you
know
can,
what I like? I like more than a cushy hotel. I like being able to come out the door and go right inside and get to work, not even have to go anywhere.
yep, not have to wait on a ride, drive anywhere, park, fuck with it. I also like to be able to just walk right out my door and smoke if I want to smoke. I don't got to walk down the lobby, ride a fucking elevator. Where you know what I mean? Like, nah, I like to just be right on location. That and then that was one of the big things when we first went to move Indy to the fairgrounds. I was totally against it because it wasn't a hotel connected. And one of my favorite things is to have my room where I can walk right out into the to work. Um, but it just didn't work out that way. And Trina, she believed it could work, and we went and talked to him, and everything lined up. And we're like, well, we'll see what happens. The hotel is literally a 5-minute drive down the road, so it wasn't a big deal. And I've been to a lot of shows where they're not connected and they're at convention centers. So just my preference, I like to, like you said, be able to walk right outside and go to work, or go upstairs if I got a headache and go to sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
But with the Indy being where it is, like I say, I stay in an RV there, so I don't mind it. It's just like having a hotel to me. But I think all the people who don't want to stay in an RV, I think there's still enough there that outweighs the inconvenience of that, where people are happy. You got good food, you got clean bathrooms, you got good location of everything. I mean, there's a Walmart and a Culver's right across the street, literally walking distance too. So you know what I mean. It's all right there. So I don't think anybody's really concerned about the hotel as much as I thought it would be when we first did it. I was like, man, I hate going to expos without a hotel in case I want to go up to my room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes you just got to deal with it. And also, that's again, like we were talking about the endurance of tattoo artists and the overcoming. Is they'd all prefer that, but when they get there, they don't even care. There's so much other stuff going on that we just adapt and roll forward. That's what we do as tattoo artists. I feel like as a whole.
Right.
So everybody gets there, they're having fun, and nobody even cares that the hotel's nowhere around.
Right.
I didn't hear one person say, "Oh, I wish I could go up to my room and lay down right now." I mean, we're so busy. I mean, we're having, so many people through the door, and there's so much going on that you don't get that time to worry about it.
Right. Well, we talked a lot about the expo, but let's talk a little bit more about you. If people are interested in getting to know you more, maybe getting tattooed by you or at your shop, Ink Therapy, where can
Yeah.
they learn more?
You can find us at inktherapytattoo.com. You can find a little bit about me on the website there. I've been tattooing for 32 years here in Indianapolis. I'm Ink Therapy on Instagram. That's all one word. Chris Allen Taylor on Facebook. I'm pretty much versatile. I love to do all styles of work. I love to do a little bit more traditional stuff, but I love color realism as well. And I'm available, man. I keep myself pretty available. Books are never closed. I'm always open to talking to people and coming up with new stuff. And if you ever want to just talk tattoo history or business, man, I'm always down for business conversations. Whether it's you teaching me something or you got a few questions, love to help and connect people. If I don't know, connect people with everybody. I think that's my favorite thing, is really just to be that connection point for everyone.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you taking time with me today and teaching me a little bit more about your history and what's going on in the Indianapolis scene. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the show in a couple weeks. And we'll definitely be hanging out some more and talking some more there.
Yeah.
And yeah, let me know if you need anything in the meantime, man.
I know it's just Indiana still, and you're in Indiana, but a couple hours down there. But man, you guys come out and stay for the weekend. Man, it's a perfect little couples getaway. It's a 1-bedroom Airbnb out here I own 10 acres out here, surrounded by 400 acres. So we got a game room, pool table, and arcade games and stuff like that. So we can shoot some guns one weekend. You know what I mean? So after the expo, let's hook up and
I'm
we'll go
down,
check.
bro.
We'll come down here. You guys stay for the weekend. We'll cook out and have a little art night of our own.
I'm down, man. We should just package that road trip to Gary right all in that whole thing, man.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. I'll
Let's
meet you
do
up
it.
there. We'll just cruise back down here from there and freaking, you know,
All right,
I think,
brother.
could have a good time, man. We'll do some painting of our own. And Junior, he's been talking about it and wants to come over too. So we'll line it up. I'll get Junior to come over and paint with us, and we can get a couple people and enjoy like just a good little paint night. And then you guys stay for the weekend, enjoy the cabin and the game room, campfire, and we'll shoot some guns and fucking have a blast.
Yeah, it'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, brother. Well, I'm gonna see you at the show in a couple weeks, and I know it's going to be a success like it always is, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed for good weather all weekend. That's about all we got to wish for.
I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping. We usually get rain at least on Saturday morning or something. Sam Dust last year, she planned on camping out, and the rain came so bad Friday night, she ended up getting it flooded her tent out, and she ended up getting a hotel. So.
So can people tent camp there too?
Yeah, you can tent camp there too. You can get spaces either with or without power and stuff as well. And
okay,
also, shit, if you got a tent and you want to sit beside my RV, plop up right there and plug in.
I can sleep in my car there if I want.
You can sleep in your car there if you want. Yeah, and you got like vans and stuff. People pull up in their vans, and you know what I mean.
Well, that's good to know because I might just sleep in the car.
They have really nice shower houses in there, and when I say they're nice, like I was surprised. Someone's like, "Oh, they're clean." And I thought, okay, like clean as in a public restroom. No, I walked in and I was like, "Damn, these things are clean." Like, the old lady lives on the property who takes care of all that, so it is spick and span clean. They got bathhouses and everything there.
All right, dude. Well, I hope you have a great turnout. I'm sure you will. You always do, and I'll see you there in a couple weeks, man. Thanks for being with me today.
Oh, man, thanks for having me on, man. Such an honor to be on here with you. Love it. Love any chance I get to talk to you, but get on here and talk I appreciate it.
Always, bro. That's a wrap for this episode of The Business of Tattooing. I appreciate you tuning in and being part of this journey to level up the industry one conversation at a time. If you found value in today's episode, do me a favor. Subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another artist who could use this knowledge. Got questions or topics you want me to cover? Hit me up on Instagram at NoFlashNinja or email me at rob@electrumsupply.com. And remember, tattooing is an art, but running a successful business is a skill. Keep pushing, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time on The Business of Tattooing.